going to be doing a DIY on this diaper changing station. If you watched last week's video, I discussed in depth all about the changing station and how it was a lot of wood and how I wanted to brighten it up and give it a pop of color and do something fun that was not permanent, just something temporary. And I came up with this idea of using wallpaper on the back portion of the changing station just to break up some of the wood tones and add a little bit of color and pattern to the changing station. I'm super happy with how it turned out. So if you want to see how to do this, this was a super easy, affordable project that you can do with any kind of hutch or shelving unit or anything that you can just wallpaper the back of. Once again, this is temporary, so I can easily remove this if I ever want to in the future. You could do this with so many different pieces of furniture, not just for a nursery, and so I hope you guys will enjoy it. So to get this project started, the first thing I did was go ahead and take everything off of the shelves so I had a clear canvas to work with. You want to wipe down your surface, make sure that there's nothing sticky or dusty or anything so that the wallpaper can stick directly to the surface you're working with. And I decided just to do the back portion, not the sides or anything like that. I really just wanted to add a little pop and brightness to the back section of the changing table slash hutch. So I ended up getting this wallpaper from Love vs. Design. This is the marigold stamp wallpaper. They offer peel and stick as well, more permanent wallpapers, which is nice because it allows you to choose between different options and materials while still having access to the same types of prints. And I found that it was a very affordable price for what I needed for the space. Basically, I started with the biggest section here just because I'm not an expert wallpaper, and so I wanted the least amount of challenges to get started. It took me a couple times of having to stick up the wallpaper and then unpeel it and re-stick it in order to get it perfectly straight. I'd say that's the most challenging part, is when you first start putting up the wallpaper, is making sure it's lined up and level. But thankfully, the way that this hutch is, it gives you the straight lines, so there's not much that you have to do. You just have to make sure that wallpaper goes all the way to the edge. So I went ahead and lined up the first panel, and once I had that up there, they recommend peeling the back only 6 inches at a time so that you're not working with a ton of sticky paper, obviously. This particular paper smoothed out super easily. Once I got the first panel put up, I just went ahead and trimmed the excess around the edges with a razor blade. I also love that they gave you the wallpaper smoothing tool with your wallpaper. You don't have to buy it separately, which is really nice. And I've used the plastic ones in the past, but this one has this soft, like, felt end onto it, and it makes smoothing it out so much easier. as I was wallpapering, I was going to start wallpapering this third bottom section, but I realized that it had this unique ledge that stuck out into the bottom portion of this hutch. And while I could have easily, traced it out and tried to cut it out to fit, it would be a little bit more complicated. And what I realized is that this bottom section is never actually seen because the changing basket goes here on this part of the table. So I personally decided to opt out of wallpapering this bottom section just because I didn't think it was actually going to be necessary, and then I didn't have to worry about cutting around the awkward shapes. I did save the little bit of wallpaper that I did have left, so if I ever decide I want to go ahead and add that, I can. But for this project, I decided to skip it. And once again, you'll see at the end, when the changing basket is where it belongs, you can't even tell that it's not wallpapered. Here was the tricky part, and it was installing the second panel because I had to cut the panel to fit since there was a smaller section. So the first panel, I didn't have to cut the width, I only had to cut the length. For this panel, I had to cut both the length and the width. So that's what I was doing, and then matching it up so that the pattern matched and it all blended seamlessly. Between the measurements I took before ordering and then not accounting for the amount of clearance that I gave myself, there's a little section down here where there's a gap. So I'm gonna have to do a little makeshift situation to fill in that section, and hopefully I have enough of leftover wallpaper to do that, but I don't think it's going to be noticeable at all, so I think it'll be fine. So it looks like my only option is taking these smaller sections and piecing them together just to accommodate for that 13.5 inches. So not ideal, but we're gonna do it. It's gonna be fine. So for the small little section, I basically just looked through the scraps of leftover wallpaper that I had and just pieced together 2 different sized pieces that matched up with the rest of the design so that the flowers were in the right spot. Basically, I needed one piece that was just completely blank, just the background color, and then one that had a partial flower. And so I was able to match that up and piece them together, and truly you cannot even tell that I had to piece a couple different pieces together. That worked out really well.